We'll give it'll take a few minutes for everybody to come on.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because, uh-oh, here they come. Hi, Carrie.
Hello, hello.
Hello. So we got a couple people coming in. Carrie, Candy, Joy, Latrice.
Hi, guys.
So just to let you guys know, if you guys want to put anything in the Q&A down below, that's cool. And you can also hit anything in the chat window. And I should say who I am. That's probably a good, important first step. So I'm Blake Cabot. I am the owner of FacePaintcom. And I am here with Kathy Vergara, who is, we're both in New York, although she's in Brooklyn, to be fair, and I'm in Manhattan. It's just a different place. It's a different spot. It's not the same spot. And hi, Joy. And we're going to be showing you kind of the basics of face painting. And I'm just going to wait a few minutes so everybody can hop on. And so just to ask the question, what's everybody's level on face painting? I should have asked that in a poll.
I'd love to know.
Okay.
How good you guys are.
Poll 1. Jeez. Okay, there we are. I'm about to create a poll. Single choice, multiple. Future. Okay. We'll launch that in a second. Okay, let me launch this on. Okay, so what paint are you using there? People are going to ask that like a million times.
This is Tag. This is Tag regular dark blue. Looks a little crazy because I have like white and green mixed into it. But I really like it because it's a really opaque, deep blue.
Cool.
Okay. Should we wait a few minutes or should we get started?
I think people are coming on. See a few more people. So I think we start, and people can ask questions. Feel free to ask any question on chat or the Q&A. I've got them both up, so feel free. And
okay, so I guess I'll introduce myself. My name is Kathy Vergara, and I've been face painting for about, I want to say since I was 16. So without giving away too much information, that would be over 8 years. Let's see what we're going to start.
And Kathy's trained literally hundreds of people to 100. We said 100, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't counted, but it's probably at minimum 100 people.
Yeah. So it's 100 people she's taught to face paint because she works with this event planning group, And so they hire a lot of face painters to do event planning. So
Yep, so I'm the one they come to when they have to learn how to face paint.
exactly. So I figured she'd be a good person to teach you guys. Hi, Kanisha.
Okay. Usually when I start like my face paint trainings, I start with like the absolute basics because the girls that come to me are like have no experience. Like they don't really know anything about the brushes or the different kinds of paints or anything like that. So I guess we could go through the brushes really quick.
Sure.
We can be familiar. So if I say like the name of the brush, you guys know what I'm talking about. So one of my favorite ways to paint is by using split cakes and rainbow cakes. And for those, you need these chisel brushes, these flat ones. This one is from Royal & Langnickel. It's a 3/4 inch flat, and it fits pretty well in a split cake like this. If you want to fill the whole thing, you probably use a 1 inch. And also really important is the 1/2 inch.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's also from Royal & Langnickel. These brushes I picked up from a craft store. They're really good. The bristles are nice and firm. There's not too much give like you would have on like a natural hair brush. I always use synthetic. Let's see. Okay, another brush I really like is a Filbert. So this one, wow, I have no idea what size it is. Oh, number 8. So this one's a number 8 Filbert. This one's from Craftsmart. There's another craft store brush. These are really useful for flower petals, for drawing out shapes, like for a unicorn or something like that. For big teardrops, if you're going to do big teardrops, this is a good brush for that.
And that's a Filbert brush?
Yeah, this is a Filbert. And here's a smaller one.
Okay.
If you guys can see, I know the lighting's a little bright. But these are some of my favorite brushes because it doesn't give you the harsh lines that a smaller chisel brush would. And of course, you need your rounds. So these are a few of the round brushes I like to use. I have a Low Cornell number 3, a Paint Pal Swirl 3 and Swirl 6. And here are a few more. A bunch of round brushes I like to use. I usually stick with, I have a lot of them because I usually use one brush per color. So like this one, as you can probably tell, it's not as dark as these. I usually use this one only for black. I use this one only for white. This one is like just for dark blue because I find that it keeps my water clean a little bit longer when I don't have to keep rinsing and washing my brushes. Let's see. Put these aside. Okay, this brush is also very useful. This is a Petal Brush from the Paint Pal brand.
And what distinguishes a Petal brush from a Filbert?
Because the Filbert is flat. If you can see here, the Filbert is flat, and it has a thick side and a flat and a skinny side. Okay. Paint Petal Brush, I'm turning it. If you can see that, it's the same thickness all the way around.
Interesting. Okay.
So this makes it really easy to do the petals for your small, like daisy flowers. Before this brush came to be, I'd use one like this, a bigger, like a fatter round brush, which is similar. But you can see the bristles are a lot longer. And so when you're pressing down to do the petals, it makes it a little bit harder to control how they make the shape. So this one's bristles are a little firmer, and it's better for the small little petals you need to make the flowers. Let's see.
So for the people that are watching, I'm just going to launch a quick poll, if you don't mind, and just to find out what your level is.
Oh, yep, I see it. Okay. And I have a few smaller chisel brushes.
Okay, so.
Wait. Okay, there we go.
Looks like we got a pretty scientific sample. So about half the people are just starting, about 22% are doing it for a while. We've got 2 experts here, make that 60-20-20. So, okay, now we know.
Cool.
So for those people watching on Facebook Live, this is based on this is what you can do in Zoom.
I've just started up. I've been airbrushing haunted house style makeup for 10 years. Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
I've seen those in like Six. Do you work for an amusement park? Because I've seen those in Six Flags. I know they have all their makeup airbrush when they do like Fright Night.
Colleen, what kind of airbrush stuff do you? What kind of airbrush machine do you use?
Oh, and I almost forgot another brush. This one is a butterfly brush, which is just a fan brush, like a regular fan brush that I cut into the shape of a butterfly wing. Makes it really easy to load up with a split cake like this, and just you can just put the wings down back and forth like that. Really saves time. So, since we were talking about the petal brushes, let's jump into some flowers. So for this, I almost always use white as the base for my flower petals. This one is Wolf. I've worked for various Illinois haunted houses and these nice haunted houses. Okay, so you want to get a pretty good consistency with your white, not too runny. But also not too dry. You want it to be able to glide on the paint. If it gives you resistance, then your paint is probably too dry, and you can add a tiny little bit more water. And sometimes if I have time, I use a paper towel and just clean off the very tip of the brush. And this helps make the colors pop a little bit more. And I'm going to wet it just a tiny bit, very, very little. And just keep going back into the tag dark blue. And make sure that the tip is very saturated. Okay, so if you can see that, that's what your brush should look like when you're doing petals. And petals always work better on the skin. So I'm going to use my arm for this one. And what you want to do is hold it at, I'm almost a 90-degree angle, but not quite, a little bit to the side. And you're just going to push down as you go around to make the different petals. So usually I do 5, but you can do more than that. Make a bigger flower. If you don't like how one of your petals are looking, you can just go right over it and fix it. And let me see. And I usually use a pretty small round brush.
Is that a script liner or like a 2 brush?
This is a number 3 round by Low Cornell.
Okay.
Yep. And for the dots that I put in the middle, for this, you want to make sure that your paint is pretty wet. You want it to be more liquidy than it was when you were doing the petals, because the more liquidy it is, the easier it is to just drop. Oh, sorry. The easier it is to just drop and do a little dot. And the more pressure you put, the bigger your dot's going to be. So the rounder your dots are, the prettier they look. And the wetter your paint is, the rounder your dots are going to be. You can just put a few tiny dots in the middle. Usually when I do my flowers, I add, like, I don't know what you'd call this. Kind of looks like wheat to me. But it's always a pretty, like, it adds to the design, and it's very simple. Like, it looks complicated if somebody's just coming in and watching you, but it's really easy to do. So all you do is start furthest away from where your focal point is. So the focal point is going to be the center of this flower here. And you push the brush down, and then you alternate sides. So one's going left, one's going right. And my brush is a little bit dry. When it starts to get streaky like that, you can tell that you need to reload. And so there you go. And I'd finish it with some teardrops. And you always want to go into the focal points, which in this case are the middles of both of the flowers. So for really good teardrops, you want to make sure that your brush, again, is tiny bit on the wetter side, because if it's dry, your teardrops will look streaky. And all you really have to do is push down and drag it to where you want it to end. The more pressure you put down, the bigger the head of your teardrop is going to be. So you can put down a lot of pressure in the beginning and then just lift it up. Sometimes, if one of my students are having difficulty with the teardrops, I tell them you can also, as you're bringing it down, you can twist it a little bit. Like, I'm rolling the brush between my fingers like this, so that as I'm bringing it to the point, it's twisting off the skin. So it's helping to not leave like a thick tail like that.
Kanisha asked, which brush is good for teardrops? You're using a 3 brush, right? 3 round?
Yeah, right now I'm using a round 3, and it depends on what your design is. So for this design, is pretty, the flowers are pretty small. A 3 is a good size to do the teardrops for this. If I wanted to do something that required really big teardrops, like for a mask or something, I could use my Filbert brush. And this one will give you huge teardrops. And this is good if you're doing a mask, or like you want like a wing, like some kind of unicorn wing on a face. Just anywhere you want to cover like really big surface area quickly. I use this brush with teardrops to do water when I'm doing like a shark. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm going to do some sponge work. So these are petal sponges from, I believe they're the Paint Pal petal sponges. They come in like a pack of 6. These I really like for doing any butterflies because the shape is perfect. It fits right in here above the eye, and it fits right below it for the bottom wing. And also for the tigers, which is what I'm going to do now. The shape is very good. Okay, so for the sponges, you want to wet your sponge and squeeze out all the water. So you just want it to be slightly damp because you don't want your colors to run. And for the tiger, I'm going to start loading orange. And this is Paradise. What color is this? I have a Velcro on the back of the cake, so I'm pretty sure it's just regular orange. And so we're going to load half.
Mm-hmm.
This. And I'm going to take a yellow. This one's also Paradise. And I'm going to I flip my sponge over, so now I'm using the skinny side. And I'm going to load the other half with yellow. And as you can see, my paint cake is pretty dry here. It's not picking up a lot. So I'm going to add a tiny bit more water to the ends. And now it's picking up the paint a lot better.
Hi, Christina. She said hi.
Hey, Christina. My sister's name is Christina.
Christina Deans, by any chance? No?
No, but we call her Dina, which is pretty funny.
That's funny.
That her name is Christina Deans, and we call my sister Dina.
Just to let you guys on Facebook Live know, it was a certain amount of delay, so you've got like about a 5-10 second delay. So if I respond late, it's because, well, there's a delay.
Okay, so we're going to do a tiger. And this one is one of my favorite designs because it covers almost the whole entire face. And it's very fast. If I was just doing it at an event, I can do a tiger probably under 2 minutes. And it's always impressive. You can even do these for the smaller children if you make a few modifications to it, because the smaller children don't like to have things close to their eyes. So when you're using a sponge, you just want to pounce. You don't want to drag because then it's going to give you streaks like this. So you're just going to pounce. Back and forth. And you know that your sponge is loaded properly when you get a really nice color gradient like this. And there isn't a lot of dripping or a lot of like bald spots. If you have bald spots, your paint is too dry. And if there's dripping, then there's too much water. So you're going to make like a V shape on the forehead. Come around and go right under the eye and the cheek area. And make another V shape there. And then another one on the other side. So you want to stay away from this area of the face, the upper lip. And if you have any spots, like right in the middle of the face, you can just take half of your sponge. Like I'm just using the tip to kind of blend all those colors together.
And feel free to, this is Blake, so feel free to ask any questions if you want to see anything specific, please.
Yeah, if you guys have requests, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so right now, we're going to use a Filbert brush because I really like these. And I'm going to take the number 8 and just load it with white. So for a baby, if you're going to do this on a baby, you'd stay away from this whole eye area right here. And the white part would start a little bit higher, like this.
Mm-hmm.
On any, regular age child or an adult, I'd probably just tell them to close their eyes and go all the way down.
When you're getting, Colleen asked, when you're getting your sponge wet, do you use a spray bottle or dip it in water?
I usually dip it in water, but a spray bottle is a really good way to make sure that it doesn't get too wet. Usually I don't have a spray bottle with me though, because I always lose them. So I'll have like 2 cups of water, one that's clean and one that I use to dip my brushes in, and I'll use the clean one to wet my sponges.
Hey, could you move the computer camera a little bit over, because we're kind of catching you just on the...
You're just looking at my kitchen, okay.
Yeah, we're just looking at the kitchen, which is fine. I mean, you have a lovely kitchen. I'm not saying anything about the kitchen. It's a good kitchen. Fine.
Okay, so here we're gonna make flicking motions just to keep the edge of this white very like hair textured. And I'm gonna go to the other side and do the same thing over here. Okay, and then right to the upper lip, get a little bit more paint. You're gonna bring it out just past the natural lip line. And cover that space. Usually I'll also add like a couple of teeth over here. So with that, I just turn my brush so that the thin side is down, apply pressure, and just flick it downward so that it ends in a point.
Okay.
So you're supposed to cover the lip. My bad. Okay, now for the stripes. Now, if you were gonna add glitter, you would do it now. Because glitter always looks a lot better when you can see the black outline. And if you add glitter after the black, it just kind of covers up all your line work. So let's pretend. I don't know if you can see that. Put a little bit of glitter on there. I'm going to take another Filbert. This one is a size 8 also. I think it's a little smaller than this size 8. They're 2 different brands. This one is Craft Smart, and this one is Simply Simmons.
Everybody's got their own brushes.
Yeah, so the sizing is a little different. This one's a tiny bit smaller, but it works for what I want to use it for. Now I'm going to just take some black paint. And this is a Fab Black.
Superstar.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And this black is pretty good for line work. It's nice and opaque. It's not as good as Wolf would be, but it's a close second.
Superstar is a little softer, right?
Yeah, the consistency is a little softer on these.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the Superstar Black a little better than I like the Paradise Black. Because I feel like the Superstar is a tiny bit more opaque, at least when I use it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Paradise could be a little translucent sometimes. So, okay, I got that loaded. And let me show you over here. When I do the stripes, it's like a thin to thick to thin kind of motion. So you want to make sure when you finish loading your brush that you flatten the bristles so that the edge is very thin like this, to make sure that you get really good, precise, thin lines. So I'm going to make a thin line, apply pressure, wiggle it a little bit, and then make it thin again. So it's going to go thin to thick to thin. And you can do different shapes with these lines. You can make them curvy. You can do like a V shape. Okay. So these are what my stripes look like. And I usually start with the eyes. I get thin, thicker, a little bit thinner here. Add one here and a tiny one right here. Going on this side, thin, thick, thin again. You can always go back and make your ends a little bit thinner if you're not satisfied with them the first time. And again on the other side. I'm just gonna give her a little bit of eyeliner. I usually wouldn't do this on an actual child, but just for the sake of the eye standing out a little bit better. Okay, and the nose is just two tiny little teardrops like this that meet in the middle. You're gonna bring this line down, apply pressure at the bottom, and bring it up and around like this. And then throw some lines in for the, I guess you could call them whiskers. I don't really put whiskers on my tigers because I feel like it takes away from the striping on the sides. So for the top, usually the top of a tiger's forehead looks something like this one over here. So we can start in the middle, lay the brush down, and come in like that. The same thing to the other side. My camera's kind of in the way, hold on. Like this. And now I'm just going to add a couple more on each side like this. Now you don't want to put too many because then the design is going to look too crowded. But you want to make sure that all the tips are going towards the focal point, which in the tiger is going to be the middle of the face, more specifically these two corners of the eyes. So if you continue this one down, it would meet over here. This one would kind of meet over here. For these, it's going to be the center of the face. But this is important when you're doing the stripes on the side. So on the side, I usually start here and then come up. Another one towards the middle. Mm-hmm. And then a third one that goes down this way. So you can see all of the ends of these stripes are all going towards the focal point, which is in the middle right here. And so...
Hi, Ravon.
I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. Right here. And I'm going to get a smaller brush, a smaller round brush. This is a Low Cornell number 4. I believe these are called the gold grip brushes.
Yeah. Gold something. That's right.
Yeah.
And I sell them on FacePaintcom, so don't you worry.
Yes, you have these sponges. You can buy them on FacePaint.com.
Yeah, we have all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the brushes you mentioned we don't have, but everything else we got.
Yeah.
And we have plenty of brushes.
Lots and lots of brushes to choose from on there.
Yep.
Which is really great. Also, something else you have, which I love, is my little brush holder.
Oh, you like the brush holder?
Yes, I love this. The gecko, the brush gecko.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The kids love it. I always get asked, what is this? Is that made for just your brushes? This is so cool. Everybody always loves the brush gecko.
Christina thinks this is an excellent tutorial, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Christina. The brush gecko, let me talk about this for 1 second because I love it so much. It really keeps your brushes separate so that you don't have the problem of them touching like this, and then you get some dark blue on your white brush, some other kind of mistake like that. You can put it all over. You can even slide some brushes in between the little feet over here. You can put them in the eyes. I usually use the eyes for my big brushes. And if you really wanted to, you can slide it between the fingers, but I do it with a tinier brush than this one. Okay, so.
Yep, we sell geckos. They're great.
Back to the forehead. Okay, so now you can totally stop here if you so decided.
That's a pretty good looking tiger.
Yeah, but I usually like to add just a little bit because I feel like the middle part of this section is a little lacking, a little boring in the middle. So what I would do at an event is just add a few random dots. And again, like before, the more pressure you put down, the bigger your dots are going to be. And you see, like this is not a dot. What happened right here, right there, because my brush is too dry. So when your brush is too dry, your dots don't look like dots. They just look like random little squiggles. So as I added more water to my paintbrush, you can see that these dots are much rounder now. I don't put them everywhere. I usually don't put this many. I got a little carried away. But just as like a space filler. To keep the design looking interesting.
And you would have put in glitter before you did, right after the base.
Yes. So I don't know if the lighting will allow me to show you this. But
yeah, it does.
There is glitter in the background. And the glitter is so much more complementary to your design when you can see your black line work on top of it. Because if not, it kind of takes over. So let me see if I can. And always remember to put your glitter on when your paint is still wet or damp, your base. So let me see. The black is still a little bit.
So Latrice asked a question. I've been face painting for 9 months now. How fast should I be with a design like this?
I mean, that all depends on you. I can do this design. I do this one often. It's one of my go-tos. So I can probably just sponging down real quick with the line work without the dots. Under 2 minutes. If I have all my like my sponge already set up and my brushes loaded, it'll be really quick. I'd say if you're just starting, practice and time yourself. If you can do this design in about, let's say, 4 minutes, I'd say you're still okay. If you're doing like pay per face events,
what would Sally require?
Working with Sally is all about speed. So when we work with Sally is, she owns Blue Balloon Parties, and I do a lot of face painting events for her, and she's the one who I train her face painters. So when I'm working with Sally, she has a lot of like high volume events, which require you to paint a large number of children and not necessarily a huge amount of time. So I remember one event I did, I had to paint, what was it? Maybe 50 kids in an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. It was 50, maybe a little bit more than 50. 50 kids in an hour. So what I did was I gave them 2 options, each 2 boy options, 2 girl options. I don't like to, put designs in that box like that. If a boy wants a rainbow, give him a rainbow. But just for the sake of that event, I gave just 2 on each side, and they were small. They were, I used my butterfly brush for one of them, which I can show you guys right now. So this is the brush I used for the butterflies. And I'm just gonna take a random split cake. This one I really like a lot. This is Autumn, an arty brush cake. So I'm just gonna go back and forth like this.
A couple of questions came in from Christina. One was, what glitter do you use?
Mama Clown. Yep, Mama Clown Famous Glitter. I don't like to get a bunch of colors and stuff because it takes a lot of time to individually put glitter on each spot. So I just take I think this is her iridescent white, which goes with everything. And I'll just poof it on.
Okay.
And just let them go.
And the other question is, would you demo an adult design around the eye? We might not have time today because we've only got 18 minutes left, but certainly can do it another time, Christina.
Yeah, I can do a butterfly right after this that you can modify for an adult.
Okay, sure.
So this is my butterfly brush. And I'm going to see if I can find some empty space on my arm. And literally all you do is go like this. Bounce it a little, flip it over, and do the same thing on the other side. And you have your butterfly outline.
The woman behind you was looking very concerned. Your mom?
No, that's my sister-in-law.
That's your sister-in-law?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Joy says she tried to cut a butterfly brush once. Epic fail.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it looks. I've had to cut a lot of them because each group needed their own, at least one, sometimes 2. So what I try to do, make sure your scissors are really sharp. Because if you have, if they're not too sharp, it's going to be more difficult because they'll move the bristles instead of cutting them. So your lines won't be straight. So I would try to hold it like this so that you don't get too much movement in the bristles over here. And then do little by little to cut the shape that you want out. And it doesn't have to be 100% perfect because I just threw down the butterfly outline in 2 seconds. Because you can always go back with a liner brush and just clean up the edges.
Kanisha, do you add stencils to your designs?
Me personally, I don't. but I know a lot of people who do and are very good at it. It's just that the work I do doesn't usually allow for stencil work, because for stencils, your base has to be completely dry, and you have to have like just the right amount of water on your sponge to make like a glue kind of consistency, like a pretty dry one, to be able to sponge on top of a stencil design. And I'd usually have to work too fast for that. So see this butterfly, this is one of the designs I gave them. And you can do like 1 million of these in an hour. It's very, very fast.
And what'd you give the boys? Or were the boys butterflies?
No, I think I said butterfly or flower. So these are the two options for the girls. They either got like a cheek flower or butterfly. And for the boys, I believe it was a spider and a shark.
Okay.
So, before I wipe this off, you can see how when the glitter goes on top, it makes it hard to see your outline when the sun is reflecting it. And you kind of lose your detail, like all in this area over here. So that's why I suggest doing it before.
Yeah, Tamina said earlier, great tip on the glitter. The alternative would be to place it between the black, but not good when you're pressed for time.
Right, exactly. Which is why I like to use the glitter poof and just tell them to close their eyes, just poof a couple times, and done. Okay, so I know we don't have that much time left, so let me get into a butterfly really quick. Okay, so again, we're going to use one of these sponges. I'm going to take one of my rainbow cakes. This one is Pearl Piece Rainbow Cake. It's really pretty. I personally like to keep the lighter colors toward the middle. So this would be the smaller end of my sponge. And you just go back and forth like this. You keep it flat on the cake. And you go back and forth. And you want it to be pretty dry.
2 questions came in from Candy. Well, actually 2 questions. Does the glitter get in the way of painting over it?
No, not at all. You're not going to use a whole bunch. Like, you're not going to throw. Just a tiny little poof is all you need. And these glitter you want to try and get the smallest particles you can. And these are very tiny. Let me see. And make sure you're using cosmetic grade glitter, because you don't want to hurt anybody's little eyes. So if you can see.
And the other question was, okay, that's interesting. How do you get the stains out of sponges when you're done and they've been washed?
Trying to get the stains out of sponges is usually like a losing battle. I use hot water, dish soap. Occasionally, if it's like really, really bad, I'll use a little bit of like laundry detergent. Like, you can soak them in some Tide or like OxyClean, and that would help. I know I've heard that some people wash their sponges in the washing machine, like in like a lingerie mesh. And they just put them in the washing machine and wash them like that, which I think is really efficient if you had 1 million of them to wash. But I only carry a couple, so hand washing is fine for me. But most of the time, you're not really going to get the stains out 100%. Okay, so right here is where you want to lay your sponge for the butterfly, and you'd ask the person to close their eyes. So I'm going to pretend the eye is closed and just put it right on top. Usually what I tell the girls is that you want to try and like cut the eyebrow in half. So you can see right here is about the midpoint of the eyebrow, and that's where you lay down your sponge. So you can do the same thing that you did with the tiger and just kind of bounce it like this. and then you're going to flip it so that you're right under the eye. And both corners should be going right towards this inner corner. This is the focal point of your butterfly, the inner corner of the eye. So we're going to flip it and do the same thing under here. And you want to try and stay with this triangle shape. You don't want to move it down too much or up too much, because then your butterfly gets too big and it'll like take away from the little face instead of enhancing it. And you also want to make sure that there's a space left over here, because you don't want this to just look like one giant wing.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked to use chunky glitter on the face.
I have chunky glitter. I have like tiny little jars that occasionally I'll put on, but this glitter you'd have to take out, and I would dip one of my brushes in water, like the back of it, grab a little bit of glitter like that, and kind of just place it like this. That's how I'd put on the chunky glitter. And I only use it for like special occasions, like if a design like really calls for it, or if it's like the birthday child, because it's a lot more time consuming than doing the poof glitter. Okay, so
Christina said it was a great tip on eyebrows.
thank you. Yeah, so obviously a real person's face is going to be a little bit bigger than the test board, so my butterfly is going to go a little bit out of bounds here. But once you have that down, try and make sure it's dry, or at least mostly dry, before you go in with your line work, because then the colors are going to mix. What? I think some of my paint dropped over here. Okay. And so for a super, super basic, like the most basic butterfly I would ever do would be kind of like this. So I'd start here with a teardrop that goes all the way down. Bring it around here, in a little bit, and then gonna continue that once more right inside the outside corner of the eye. I know it's a little difficult to see where her eyes are at. Okay. And you want to make sure all your lines are very sharp at the ends. And
thanks, Eileen.
Down here.
Got somebody from Ireland watching you.
Oh, nice. I've always wanted to go to Ireland.
It's raining though.
It's raining here too. Okay, and then for the bottom, let me see if I can put it so that you guys can see what's happening. It's going to be another teardrop, so you're going to put pressure down over here, and then as you get to the corner of the eye, you're going to lift up slightly so that it gets much pointier. Okay. There we go. Just a second in my face. All right, so that, and then with a few dots, because this is a very plain butterfly. Even though people are usually very impressed by this one, at the kids' parties I do anyway, because they're not used to seeing like super amazing face paint. So don't get discouraged if you think your designs are not like, wow, perfect, because 99% of the time, the kids aren't judging you. They don't, all they want is something on their face. They're gonna be happy with whatever you give them. And now I'm just gonna put some dots into the thicker ends of the wing, varying sizes. So the more pressure I'm putting down, the bigger my dot is. And when I want to do tiny ones, I'm barely touching the paper. Let me charge my phone before that.
Uh-oh. So while Kathy's going to get her challenge, what other kind of, so this is our first webinar that we've done, basics tutorial. What kind of other things do you guys want to see? If you just want to throw that in the chat window, that'd be great.
Yes, I'm so open for recommendations because it's always fun to do something different. Because my designs get really repetitive when I'm painting a lot of kids' faces. I usually stick to what I can do quickly and what I'm good at because that's all the time.
That's a good idea when you've got 50 kids and you've got to do it in an hour.
Yes, definitely when you have so many kids and you have to get it done quickly, give them a very limited amount of options. Mm-hmm. And make sure whatever options you're giving them, you can do them quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this side, this is going to be a more adult butterfly. This is a little bit more intricate. So it's going to start the same way. Mm-hmm. Put a teardrop right here.
Tamina asks, I'm always looking for fast boy designs other than Marvel.
I'm not a huge superhero fan, so you're not going to catch me doing a lot of Marvel face paints. But the tiger is very fast. I have a shark that I can do with a split cake. Usually I use like one of these blue ones. That will probably take me a minute and a half to do. So that one's really fast. Spiders are super fast. If you're gonna do like a quick, without many designs, like here's a really quick spider. It's just a bunch of teardrops. Okay, so that took me like 10 seconds. Now you can do this and add like a web or just do a couple of spiders around like the eye area, like over here. And
Christina also is talking about rainbow and clouds, stars, dolphins, princess crown, dinosaur. These are some other things that I think she was interested in seeing.
Oh yeah.
But at some point, sadly not in the next 3 minutes, but
no, not in the next 3 minutes, but if we do another one, I can definitely do those.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So yeah, I'm trying like to lean over the camera so you guys can see. So sorry, this is a little awkward. This one,
you can breathe.
Yeah, is gonna be more of a series of swirls and teardrops to make up the wing design.
Eileen says, very fine swirls. I start off fine, but they always look wonky and never elegant.
You should work on keeping constant pressure throughout your swirls and practice on your arm. It's a lot easier to do them. So you can come here, pressure, 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 and then lift up, and you can have your swirl like that. Do them quickly. The faster you do the swirl, the more even your line work is going to be. If you try to sketch them, which I find a lot of people do, it's going to look like broken and not very, elegant. So for here, let's see. I'll start another teardrop. When I do butterflies like this, no two are ever the same. I kind of just make it up as I go along.
Which explains every artist from Matisse to Picasso.
Yeah.
Oh, what brush were you using? That you're using there? I think it's a 3 brush, right?
4. Yeah, this is a 4.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Eileen.
And this design I had almost mirrored the top to the bottom, but you don't have to do that. I usually don't. Okay, so this is a more adult butterfly. And I just put 3 teardrops in the middle to finish it up.
Okay.
Well, and I think we are out of time.
Yep, it's 7 o'clock. Well, I'd like to see the techniques in a full frame rather than split screen on a phone. It's really hard to see the work, but even on a computer, I want to see it up close. Okay, so next time they want to see less of you and more of your art.
Okay, we can do that.
Certainly could do that. And thanks for that, Candy. And okay, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank, first of all, Kathy for coming on this wonderful thing and showing us how to do high-speed face painting and showing us all those our wonderful tips and tricks. And I want to thank you all for joining on Facebook Live or on Zoom. Thanks, Joy. Thanks, Kanisha. They loved it. So,
thank you, guys.
And we will be producing this, so it'll be recorded, so you guys can see it. And you can, of course, see it on Facebook on our post. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, guys. Hope to see you at our next one.
Okay. Bye-bye.